Okay, today we're up to Sanhedrin, Perek Gimel, Mishnah Gimel. The next two Mishnayos, Mishnah Gimel and Daled, discuss a list of people who are ineligible, who are possible to serve either as dayonim, to serve either as judges, or to give testimony, to be magide edus, to serve as edim in a bezdin. Now, midoraisa, a person becomes ineligible to serve as a dayan or as an aid if he did any avera, if he committed any avera that is punishable by misa, by kores, or by malchus. He's also ineligible if he took money that is forbidden to him, even if he did not become liable to any of the three punishments we just listed. Since he broke the law for monetary gain, then the halacha is that he cannot be trusted to give honest testimony. If the monetary sin that he committed was of a biblical nature, was midoraisa, for example, outright stealing or lending money with interest, then he's disqualified midoraisa. He's disqualified minatorah. If the monetary sin was one that it was also only midirabanan, for example, he took property against the owner's will and he paid him for it, but doing that is an issur derabanan. So then he becomes disqualified as a dayan or as an aid midirabanan. Now the difference is that the one who transgresses a din Torah, one who transgresses a biblical law, becomes disqualified as soon as he performs the forbidden act. But one who transgresses a derabanan law does not become disqualified with derabanan until after the disqualification has been verified, announced, and publicized. The Rav talks about that. So now, who are the psulim that the Mishnah lists? Ve'elu heina psulim, the Mishnah says. And these are some of the people who are ineligible to serve as either dayanim or witnesses. The first is a gambler, hamesachek bekubia. Hamesachek bekubia. Hamesachek bekubia is someone who plays dice for money. What is that about? That basically is a generic term. Mesachek bekubia is a generic term for a gambler. Gamblers are disqualified from serving as judges or dayanim because, according to most Rishonim, the way it's explained, because these people do not provide any benefit to society. A person is forbidden to busy himself except with things that are productive. Learning Torah, doing acts of chesed, working productively, contributing to society by trading, creating a product, providing a service, selling goods. But gamblers do none of these things. A person who leads such an empty life tends to have little yiras shamayim. And therefore, a mesachek bekubia, a gambler, is posul le'edus. The second category listed is hamalve beribis, someone who lends money on interest. A person who lends money for interest is disqualified, firstly, because he breaks a din haTorah, a din d'oraisa, that forbids lending money for monetary gain. Parenthetically, the borrower is also disqualified because the Isur HaTorah of ribis, of neshech, is forbidden, equally forbidden, not only to the lender, but to the borrower as well. And therefore he would also be pasul le'edus. So the second was a malve beribis, someone who lends money and interest. The third is mafriche yoinim. Mafriche yoinim, the translation of that is people who race pigeons for money. Really, it is a form of gambling. He too is a gambler because he bets money that his pigeon will finish first, and a variety of other kinds of activities relating to gambling with birds, with pigeons. And finally, the Mishnah says, V'sochare shvis, people who do business with produce of Shnas HaShvis, of Shnas HaShmita. The Torah in Vayikra Perek Chafei tells us that the produce of the seventh year, the produce of the Shnas HaShmita, shall be yours le'ochla, shall be yours to eat, which is understood by the Torah Shabbat Peh to mean, to imply, to eat. Le'ochla, avaloi le'schoira. You may eat it, but you may not do business with it. Which means, therefore, that a person is forbidden to trade in crops that grow during the Shnas HaShemitah. This person is disqualified as a witness because he's willing to transgress a din haTorah to make money. To make money during the seventh year, during the Shnas HaShemitah, you can't sell that which grows in your field. It has to be left there, hefker, for anyone to come and take. Omer Rab Shimon, so the Mishnah explains that the last category of what? The last category that the Mishnah just listed, of Sochar Shvis, used to be a wider category. Omer Rab Shimon, B'tchila hayukorin oisam oisvei shvis. Originally, the Chachamim called them not simply Sochar Shvis, those who trade, those who do business with produce of the Shnas HaShvis. Lechatchila, originally the Chachamim called them Oisfei Shvis, Shvis gatherers. That is, they disqualified anyone who gathers a large amount of Shvis produce, even if he didn't sell it. What that means is that during the Shvis year, fields in Eretz Yisrael must be left open so that anyone can enter and take the produce growing there. Now, the owners of those fields are allowed, however, to store in their homes whatever they need to eat for the next few days, but they may not store larger amounts, because it seems like they want to use those larger amounts not simply for their own personal consumption, which is mutter. So when they stored larger amounts, the Chachamim viewed them as oisvei shvis. So the Chachamim disqualified anyone who stores too much shvis produce in violation of this law. So Rab Shimon says originally they were called oisvei shvis because it included also those that took into their homes larger amounts of the produce. Misharabu anosin, however, says Rab Shimon, however, when the number of oppressive tax collectors increased and farmers needed to gather larger amounts of shvis produce to pay their taxes, chazu likois on sochar shvis. So the Chachamim went back on their categorizing oisvei shvis because they were taking in larger amounts, not because they wanted to sell them, not because they wanted to do produce with them, nor was it even for their own personal consumption, but rather it was to pay heavy taxes as the taxation increased. Misherabua nosin, when the oppressive tax collectors increased, so then Chozu likroisan sicha shvis. So the Chachamim switched back to calling them shvis merchants. That is, they disqualified only those who also sold the produce that they had gathered. But those who merely stored larger amounts of produce were not disqualified, since they were saving it for paying the heavy taxes that were levied in various areas by all sorts of anti Semitic tax collectors. Okay.